Hi there, my name is Amy Chambers of Lighten Up Teaching, and I'm so honored that Carrie has asked me to come and speak with you about distance learning this week for her Thursday Talk series. Just a little background about me. I'm in my 20th year in education. Most of that time has been spent in special education. I'm also a mom, so I have been, for the past several months, teaching virtual school and supporting my children through virtual school. So I feel like I have a very good perspective of how this works in traditional school environments. I will say I don't know a lot about the ins and outs of homeschooling. I think a lot of these tips will still be very helpful if you are a homeschool mom. I just don't know the curriculum and the requirements as far as that goes. But I know public school, traditional school, distance learning pretty well. And momming. Um, I am a mom of all boys, and I will say that all of my kids have been semi-successful in school, but none of them are like nerdy school lovers like I was. So they're not like hopping out of bed in the morning like, let's do school. But we're being successful with it. So just to lay that out there, I don't have kids who are like me who would have just gotten up and gotten it done because that was the requirement. So the first question is how to help my child succeed in distance learning. And I think the best two things that you can do that are more mindset shifts than anything else are to remember that you are not the teacher, and the entire responsibility of whether your child is successful, makes straight A's, whatever. It's not all your responsibility. You are this child's parent or caregiver, and your job is to be their supporting caregiver in life. And the teacher's job is to teach them. And yes, obviously, as part of that support, you help them with their schoolwork. You help them set up an environment and a system where they can be successful. And that's what we do at school. Teachers do not have time to sit one-on-one with every kid and make sure they get everything done, that it's all correct, all of that. In fact, if your kid is turning in stuff and every bit of it is correct, it's probably either they're working really hard or they're not learning anything because the work is too easy. And there's ways that we can work around that. But your job is not to make sure your kid does everything perfectly well. It's to make sure that they are learning how to be an independent critical thinker. So you want to set up systems where your kids are managing their meetings, where your kids are checking to see if they've turned in all their work. Now, depending on your child and their age, you're going to have to be more or less involved in this. But our goal is independence. The goal is that your child should be able to do most of their school independently, and you check in once an hour or once every 2 hours and say, okay, did you turn this in? Do we need to set a timer? What do you have coming next? Okay, cool. I'll see you in an hour and we'll check in. That's the goal. I'm speaking as like a third grade parent right now. With little kids, obviously the time would be shorter, and with older kids, probably fewer check-ins. And really remember what is in your circle of control and what's not. It is not useful to worry about what the school board is going to decide in 2 weeks. It might be useful to write a really reasoned, well thought out letter to the school board. But if you spend all of your time thinking on things that really you don't get to make that decision, you're going to whip yourself up into a frenzy, and you're not going to have as much mental space to take care of the things you can control. Like you could help your child rearrange their room for a setup that's less distracting, or you could help set up a system with your child while you have regular check-ins, so it's not as mentally taxing for you all day to worry about what they're doing, and for them all day to want your help when you're not available. So I go into a lot of this in my course, Think Like a Teacher, which is a really excellent resource for parents who are struggling in virtual school. I take you through 5 lessons, start to finish, of how I would set up my classroom at home based on my experience as a mom and a teacher. So I'll provide the link for that later on in the video. But if you go to lightenupteaching.com/slides, there's information on the course and other services that I offer. There's some slides and there's some other free resources. The next question is how to help your young children, how to encourage them to learn. And I think this one is really simple. Just talk to them. There's a lot of research that really shows the importance of talking to your kids. So when you're going for a walk, just talk to them about what you notice and ask them questions. So even if you're sitting with your kids and you're watching some silly show on TV, like say it's not an educational program, but you're like, that's an interesting choice that character made. I wonder why he did that. Or I wonder how he felt when that person said that word to him that wasn't nice. Or just asking questions to encourage them to think and naming and labeling things. And when your kids come to you and they're very excited about something, really showing interest in their interest is also a great way to encourage learning and curiosity. There's great educational toys and all that out there, but I don't think for little kids you necessarily have to go out and buy programs and all this educational stuff to encourage their learning. I do have some ideas for great apps and all of that I can share with you. My Instagram is Lighten Up Teaching, and I would love to see you guys there and follow up with you more. But really talking to kids, encouraging their interests, letting them play, letting them have time to explore without micromanagement. I think those are really important ways to help all kids learn. So how do I make distance learning less overwhelming? I have some tips for this that I think are really valuable. Set a time limit on the end of the school day. Because we're in this weird situation where you might be at home or you might be going to work and your kid might be somewhere else and then they're doing their school, and then it feels like it never ends because there's not a bell. At our school dismisses at 2:30, and there are rare situations where a kid may stay after school to be tutored by a teacher or finish some work, but that's not the norm. Normally, school ends at 2:30. There are some teachers that send unfinished work home. That might be something you could work out with your kid, but there really needs to be an ending to the school day. I don't think it's anyone's intention for you to be up at 9, 10, 11 doing schoolwork with your kid. Again, this depends on the age and all of that. And obviously there are some kids with ADHD or other executive functioning skill deficits where it takes them longer to do work. And really, I would encourage you, if this is a consistent problem, to do some problem solving with the teacher and figure out some modifications. That's one of my jobs as a special educator, to help modify instruction and what kids are getting. Because, and this is something I tell parents a lot and they have a hard time believing, but every kid comes to a classroom with different skills, different abilities, all kinds of different things. And it is very rare for the teacher to assign the perfect amount of work that every child gets everything done in one day, everything's turned in, everyone is challenged, and everyone's met where they are. That's just, it starts to happen naturally in the classroom when we're in person with our kids and we're getting to know them and we're modifying and adjusting all the time. It's really an art form. So with virtual school, we're just having to kind of pick, okay, this is what my baseline assignment would be. And then kids are really distracted. There's a lot going on at home. I've been in virtual classrooms in a lot of different situations. There's a lot of noise when the kids are unmuted. There's a lot of distraction. So first of all, there's a good chance that it's going to be harder to get everything done. And also, the teacher doesn't maybe know your child that well yet, especially if they got a new teacher this school year. So it's a process to get everything modified. But what I would say is, this is your time to do the schoolwork, cut off at 2:30, and then that work might be waiting for them tomorrow. There might be more work. And again, this can be like your personal judgment if you think they're really capable of doing this and they're just making maybe less responsible choices about how to use their time. Say, okay, you're going to have all of this done tomorrow, but at some point in the day that's set up and agreed upon, you need to end school. Without the time boundaries and the natural boundaries of our activities and all that, I think school and work can just take over and flow into our whole lives, and that's not anyone's goal. So my biggest tip is to set time limits and then set a schedule of when you check in to help and when you're not available to help. Even if you're maybe not working in another job besides supporting your kids with schooling, in normal world, you wouldn't be with them all day at school, and it's actually not beneficial for you to sit there with them all the time and help them through every bit of school. If they really need that level of support, then it is time to reach out to someone in your school and be like, hey, I think my kid maybe needs some modified expectations during distance learning. And that's my advice on that. Someone asked about when to hire a tutor. I feel like in general, this is different for everyone. And I think a really important thing to understand about distance learning is to know when you need to ask for help. So if you're feeling like you're following all these tips, you're doing the time, you're helping your kid, and they're really struggling in a way that you don't feel adequately resourced to help them, then I would reach out to someone. Even it may not even be that they're behind with learning, you just have the resources to get help and you feel like that would be beneficial. I know there's a lot of college students looking for tutoring jobs. There's tons of tutors available. So I feel like it's whenever you feel like you're not adequately able to meet your child and help them with your full resource of patience. If you feel like trying to help them with learning, if you feel like they're not responding to you very well, or that you're not responding to them very well, that you're butting heads. My older son, I feel like I hired tutors for him pretty young because I had the skills he needed to be helped with some of his learning issues, but we didn't have the skills to respond to each other appropriately because I'm his mom. I'm not his teacher. And so it just didn't work. With my younger son, we seem to have a pretty good flow. Our skills match in a different way. So I would feel like when you're feeling overwhelmed and you feel like you can get those resources without taxing you too much or stressing you in a different way. If you can't afford a tutor or that doesn't work out for you right now, I would just lessen the expectations on both of you. I see a lot of that perfectionism monster happening around the world. Nobody really knows what we're doing fully with this. This is new for everyone. I tell people everyone is like a first-year parent, and everyone's like a first-year teacher right now. And then whatever your job is probably different than it used to be 6 months ago too. Our whole lives are different. So just ease up on yourself also. How to keep kids motivated. I go into this a great deal in my course. Think about what their love language is. The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. A lot of people think of it for like adult relationships. There's also a kid test. You can look that up, 5 Love Languages of Kids. It's available online in like a free PDF. Really know what motivates your kid and use that for school. We use this in school a lot too. And I go into this a lot more in depth in my course. I would really love for you all to check that out. It's called Think Like a Teacher. And you can find more information on that course at lightenupteaching.com/slides. I have the offerings that I give, some free resources, and some slides for a presentation I gave this past weekend that goes much more in depth into all of this are also available there. So it's INNTD slides. So that was the name of the conference that I presented at, but you're more than welcome to check out those slides and reach out to me if you have more questions. It was an honor to come and speak with you this morning, and I hope you found this helpful. Again, follow me on Instagram, Facebook to get more information. You can also sign up for my newsletter at that link that I provided there. I hope you have a wonderful day of virtual schooling. Remember to stay in your circle of control, go easy on yourself, and I would love to help you out more with all of your virtual school questions and concerns. Have a great day.